Your Excellency, sir. Yes, sir. Open to General sir. Yes. Okay, President Goodluck Jonathan would like to speak with you, sir. Okay. I'm connecting, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, hold on. Your Excellency. Hold on, sir. Okay. Hello, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, how are you? I'm all right, Your Excellency. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Yeah, so how are things? Well, I will congratulate you more. Yes, after you find time some of these days to come so that we can sort out how to plan the transitional period. All right, Your Excellency. Thank you very much. Okay, congratulations.
That was a big moment, but I know there's been a lot of backstory concerning what transpired either before or thereafter, but the thing is, well, that happened. Did anybody see that coming, any of you guys?
Not particularly, especially for me. You know, there was a lot of discussions around social media with regards to if he took the decision on his own or if he was spurred on by perhaps former leaders. But then he clarified that in his book, My Transition Hour, saying that it was a personal decision and, you know, he made the call.
Perhaps the first question you want to ask, has that ever happened in Nigeria's history? I don't know yet. Well, someone will probably be able to tell us that later. But then, one iconic thing is that even in that same book, he said he didn't tell anyone in his kitchen cabinet at the time. He just went, he thought about it, and just said to himself, my election is not worth the blood of any single Nigerian. So he just decided, took the decision, made the call, and then came to where everyone was. That's what he said in his book. That's also been reported in the papers. And he told them what he had done, not what he was about to do.
And this is interestingly against, you know, many embarrassing moments, like when he tried using, you know, his card at the time. You know, he had to use the incident forms. Yeah. You know, interesting.
So we had key scenarios at the time following the introduction of these smart card readers, how it panned itself out at the time. But perhaps we'll come to all of this. But, you know, those were some of the defining moments of 2015. So now, as is the eve of a type of day that we had in 2015, there are usually different things going through different people's minds on a day like this. I mean, we in the media, it's a different ballgame entirely because we had to process how we need to pull through this, professionally speaking. But those who will vote also have their kind of mindset, so it's a mixed bag. But this morning, we've got Akin Oyebode, a professor of international law. He joins us in the studio this morning. Good morning, Prof, and good to see you.
Oh, nice to see you too.
Yeah, we know a lot of things usually happen on the eve of the elections. Could you give us a sneak peek? What's going through your mind on a day like this, preceding another time where Nigerians go out and take a decision that will affect us for the next 4 years?
Well, my summation of the whole scenario is that Nigeria's democracy is a work in progress. We have a long way to go in terms of conducting what we call free, fair, Jega added credible, and some of us added transparent.
Oh, okay.
So it's a big call on Nigeria because of the role we occupy as the leading nation on the African continent. Then we are making a statement to history, to the black race, and then to the world at large. The eyes of the world are on us, and so the obligation on Nigeria is not to disappoint its well-wishers. We have to live up to the billing of democratizing society, to use Claude Ake's language. Although Claude, God bless him, said he wasn't sure whether Nigeria was democratizing. But the past 20 years have showed some remarkable progress, quantitatively speaking, if not structurally speaking. You know, Nigeria's problematic is an admixture of the structural as well as managerial difficulties. the structural problems in terms of underdevelopment, in terms of the level of technology we have. We've not progressed to the smart card reader.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the president did not sign the new electoral bill into law, which will have heightened the harnessing of technology in the democratic process. The electronic collation of results, transmission, and then, of course, the smart card reader, properly speaking, and the sort of thing we experience in advanced democracies, so that within a few hours, you have the results. It's not magic.
We'll look forward to that day. when that
it's
will
going
happen.
to come. It's going to come.
Yeah, we'll look but you see, in this build-up, because, I mean, you did highlight the fact that there's a lot of focus on Nigeria. They hope that we get it right. In Africa, for instance, you've observed several elections in the continent and internationally as well. From what you've seen, our build-up to this big day tomorrow, what kind of path are we working? How far away or close are we to ensuring that we meet the expectation of ourselves and then the international community?
Well, there seems to be some self-doubt in Nigerians. You know, the history of electioneering in Nigeria has not been so palatable. In fact, you have to wash with cynical acid all the big expectations that Nigeria will make it. And I'm reminded of Murphy's Law. If things can go wrong, they will go wrong. So we have a battle on our hands to disappoint the doubting Thomases, those who think Nigeria is an impossible equation. So that for me is, it's like cold sweat
Professor,
on all the things. Yes.
I Timberlake mentioned that you've seen a number of significant, all of the elections perhaps. The first...
Not all. I wasn't born in 1922. My father was born in 1922.
Okay.
But he's monitored a lot.
Since Nigeria's independence.
The modern period.
Okay. You've seen the First Republic, you've seen the Second Republic, the Third Republic, the attempt at Third Republic, as some people call it, and the Fourth Republic. Virtually every one of them has been marred with one kind or one form of violence or the other. The famous Wete of the First Republic comes to mind, the Second Republic and all of the upheavals and all of that. And we're still having the same thing today. Are we really growing democratically?
Well,
there's communal conflict in Anambra West between land disputes between Nzam community and...
ballot box snatching was rife. There was a period in Nigerian history where candidates were kidnapped so that they could not submit their nomination papers. We had also stories of attempts to compromise the electoral process, what some people now call ballot purchase, using money, the power of money, to determine the course of events. I said on this channel some time ago that in 1959, we glued our ears to the radio. TV was just coming up in Nigeria, and the radio commentators on the elections spoke about those who made Bakodaya, who did not really measure up. Yeah. That was 59. And that gave rise to what you refer to, the 1964 debacle, as well as the fiasco, if I can say it, of 1965 in Western Nigeria. I was in secondary school then, and in Ado-Ekiti, I witnessed what you could call mayhem, houses burning, and all sorts of things. And some of us were even recruited to go and vote. I voted, even though I wasn't on the electoral register. So also secondary school kids, we were old enough to go and cast our votes.
Electoral malpractice, perhaps?
Pardon me?
Electoral malpractice, perhaps?
Well, then there was really, the rule is that there was no rule at all.
Wow.
It was a battle between the MPN and the UPN. It wasn't UPN, then the Action Group, then the NCNC, for the control of the destiny of this country. And nothing was spared. And you remember the incident involving Wole Soyinka, Radio Nigeria, announcing that the attempt to swindle the electorate was not going to pass. It needed people like Wole Soyinka and his confederates to ensure that they shall not pass, you know, as the anti-fascist slogan in Europe was. And you can see today, too, Wole Soyinka is standing up to be counted in the twilight of his years. He has not retired from activism. So it brings me to the reality that the more things change, the more they remain the same.
That's a very famous quote.
Yes, Alphonse Kerr. Plus la change, plus la même chose. But we have to keep hope alive. We have to be optimistic that Nigeria will grow. And I believe that many people believe that we are going to pass the test.
Thank you.